Welcome. In this session, we're going to break down the official standards for the DSE English Language Paper 2. Our goal is pretty straightforward, to make sure every assessment we make is consistent, accurate, and fair for every single candidate.
Okay, let's dive right in. We've got a clear path ahead of us. We're going to kick things off with the core philosophy of holistic marketing. Then, we'll break down the three key pillars: content, language, and organization. We'll see how they all fit together and then wrap up with the most important takeaways for you as an examiner.
So, before we even look at a single script, we all need to be on the same page about one foundational principle. This really is the bedrock of how we assess writing in the DSE.
And here it is, the crucial point. We are not proofreaders. Our job isn't to hunt down every single mistake with a red pen. It's to evaluate the script as a whole, as one complete piece of communication. The big question is, does it work? How well does the candidate get their message across? That's what we're here to do.
Let's start with our first pillar, content. Now, this isn't just about what the candidate is saying, but about the quality of those ideas. Their depth, their relevance, and their maturity.
This right here, this is straight from the official rubric. It shows us exactly what top-tier performance looks like. I want you to notice the key phrases they use. Extremely extensive and entirely fulfills the requirements. Ideas that are well-developed and a fine-tuned awareness of audience. This is our gold standard.
And this just shows you the huge spectrum we're working with. A high-performing script is rich, it's engaging. But a low-performing script, often, it's just repeating the words from the prompt with no real development or thought for who's reading it. Really, the difference is communication versus just compliance. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this actually look like in a real student's script? Let's ground all this in an authentic example and see these principles in action. Look at this. This is perfect. The candidate doesn't just write, "The service was bad." Not at all. They give us specific, developed details. The staff confirmed the order twice, but it was still totally wrong. They even mention a beef allergy and getting steak instead. See? That specificity is exactly what we mean by well-developed ideas. It paints a really vivid picture for us. All right, let's move on to our second pillar, language. If content is the what, then language is the how. It's the vehicle for those great ideas, and we're looking for a mix of both accuracy and sophistication. Back to the official rubric. For top marks in language, we need to see an unlimited range of accurate sentence structures, well-chosen vocabulary that expresses subtleties of meaning, and a style that is deliberate and entirely appropriate. It's all about control and precision. And the contrast here is just night and day. A weaker script might be understandable, sure, but it's probably using simple sentences and basic words. A strong script, on the other hand, shows real command. The writer is making very specific, deliberate choices with their words to get a particular effect. So let's go back to our example. Where do we actually see this high-level language at work? It's right here. Look at the choice of words. Instead of just "about the view," the candidate writes, "in respect of the blocked ocean view." They don't just say the staff should be better. They hope the staff can be trained with professionalism and responsibility. This vocabulary is so precise, it's formal, and it's absolutely perfect for the tone of a complaint email. And that brings us to our third and final pillar, organization. You can think of this as the architecture of the writing. You can have fantastic ideas and sophisticated language, but if it's all a jumbled mess, the message just falls apart.
The rubric for organization rewards writing that is extremely effectively organized, with logical developments of ideas. The key phrases here are sophisticated cohesive ties and a structure that is entirely appropriate to the genre. Basically, it needs to flow seamlessly from start to finish.
So here's the key difference. A low-scoring script might feel like a random list of disconnected points, but a high-scoring script, it weaves those points together into a single, coherent whole. The ideas build on each other, guiding the reader through a logical journey. And looking at our example again, the candidate uses really clear signposting language. First and foremost, kicks off the first complaint. Then, apart from the ocean view being blocked, smoothly moves to the next point. These little phrases act like signposts, making the whole thing incredibly easy to follow. Okay, so we've looked at content, language, and organization one by one. But remember, the whole principle is that this is holistic. So now, let's put it all back together and see how these three pillars work in sync in a high-scoring response.
This is where it all clicks. Look at that concluding paragraph.
The sophisticated language, words like professionalism and responsibility, is being used to express the well-developed content, the request for a refund and for staff training. And this is all happening inside a perfectly effective conclusion, which hits all the marks for organization. You see? Each criterion supports and lifts up the others. That is the essence of holistic marking.
We've covered a lot of ground here, so let's just boil it all down. What are the most crucial principles you need to keep in mind when you sit down to start marking?
Think of these 5 principles as your guide. First, always give the script a full read-through before you do anything else. Second, look for what the candidate can do and reward it. Third, the rubric is your best friend. Keep it close. Fourth, remember that a strong script has to perform well across all 3 pillars. And finally, use those official exemplars to calibrate your own judgment. That's how we stay consistent.
Ultimately, your role as an examiner is to see the whole picture. By really internalizing these principles and applying them consistently, you're not just giving a mark, you are making sure that every single candidate gets the accurate and fair assessment they absolutely deserve. All right, let's get to work.